Oh my goodness, people. We have one of my all-time favorite human beings on the planet on this podcast. Yes, Dane,
Me?
hello.
Ellen, we were just talking about it before we got started. This has been a long time coming. If we're talking about like, oh no, you're beautiful. You are in that echelon of people that I admire, that my news feed on my Instagram story is not complete until I see something from Ellen. So this is such a pleasure.
That is a huge compliment to me. Okay, the truth is, I, when I first saw you, well, I don't know, maybe I'd seen you and kind of knew who you were prior to this, but it was like Ursa 2 years ago, and
Mhm.
Diva knew you were friends with Diva. And she was talking to you, and I had like FOMO, and I had like a little bit of like, I was a little starstruck, like, and then finally she introduced us, and then you were as down to earth and humble as they come. And since then, you and I have become like good friends.
Yeah, like I think that a lot of people don't recognize like when you're in like those industry conferences and that we had probably been in the same building years or months prior before ever actually meeting, but it
Yeah.
just took that one introduction to like, damn, like you get it. Look at what you're doing. How can I support you? Hey, here's what I have going on. And that's how this ecosystem of our industry really works. And you're facilitating that.
It's so true. Thank you. Thank you. And so, okay, by way of introduction, I want to say that you really are your family, okay? Jessica and Reese, the baby, like your family is the best looking family that exists in the world. You are like goals. You are people's goals. So, really,
I'm only half responsible.
but like it's so cool. So to the audience, it's so cool because Dane literally brings his family to these conferences. So his beautiful wife and their stunning baby are always there, and I just love it. So definitely a family guy.
Yeah,
So
you and the Warrior crew and like Diva, like you guys are like basically like cousins at this point, as much as you've seen Reese from like infancy now into like toddlerhood. But
yes.
it's just so important for me to bring family along. Like this is my fitness family, and I have my own family, and we know that presenting and being on the road in fitness is not common. It's something that, yeah, it does have a little wear and tear on the body and the soul sometimes, but we're doing something that as outliers. And if I can have the opportunity to bring my family along and what we're doing and have them be a part of my extended family, like you all and the Warrior crew, then that just is such a return on time and energy, you know?
Yeah, it really is. Okay, so we're going to be talking to you. Well, Dane is going to be talking to you about the Hollywood Playbook approach and how you can make your classes binge worthy. But pause before we dive into the goods that Dane is going to bring us with his valuable time. I wanted to just read his bio because it'll kind of blow your mind if you happen to not be following Dane. Let me just tell you that he's a big deal. He's a big deal. So, as seen on the Today Show, television fitness professional Dane Robinson is a certified personal trainer and performance enhancement specialist through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. He's held almost every job in the fitness industry, from mopping floors, been there at Bally, been there too, at
If
Bally,
that was true.
to personal and group training in boutique studios, all the way to regional department management with One Life Fitness Atlanta. Today, Dane impacts hundreds of people in private and group training classes in Atlanta, Georgia, and thousands of people across the country as a TV fitness coach on NBC, QVC, and platforms such as Daily Burn and Total Gym TV. So I can't wait to hear about, like, that is like the most robust bio, like celebrity status, your face of TV. So you're so good at presenting, you're so good at speaking, you have such a gift for being on camera. And so how did you get these gigs? So before you give us like the goods on the binge worthy classes and the Hollywood Playbook approach, first, how did you become such a superstar in our industry? Like, where did you start and how did you get these opportunities?
I think it starts like with humble beginnings, right? Mopping floors, making strawberry classic, protein shakes and selling lifetime memberships to people that and canceling a lot of lifetime membership deals over at Bally's. But it's all those humble beginnings of I wanted to get into the industry and as Drake famously said, you started from the bottom. You start from the bottom. And as I worked my way through, I think the big pivot point, Ellen, was in 2019. I'm regionally managing small group training for, One Life Fitness. I'm creating the boutique segment in the big box gym, cushy salary, PTO, 401k. Wasn't happy. Wasn't happy. Didn't have great leadership around me, like, in the trench. And at some point, I knew I wanted to do something bigger in our industry and have bigger impact. So I left that job.
Mm.
Things got harder before they got easier. I still remember that year I was coaching, fitness sessions for Lululemon, and my car got stolen out of my driveway. I was presenting in New York City, but I had just quit my job, so I was technically unemployed. So all these combinations of like what got me to this point was just a simple fact of just betting on myself,
Mm.
understanding the realization of life that things tend to get worse before they get better. And can you endure? It's like a plank, can you endure 45 seconds to get through those last 15? And ultimately, it was just betting on myself and then seeing those opportunities and like stacking those opportunities on one another, never staying comfortable. I am what you would call shoot, it's off the top of my head. I read it in a book, one of my favorite books, and I can't remember right now what it's productive paranoia. Like I operate off productive paranoia. The sky isn't falling, but we know in fitness, if sometimes if you're especially if you're a fitnesspreneur, you don't keep that funnel full, like it will dry up quick. So all that to say, Ellen, is that I started from the bottom. At some point, I made a pivot and realized that my happiness was worth about 72K a year, and I was going to leave that, and I was going to struggle for a little bit, but ultimately find one opportunity. If I can do it once, I can do it again. If I can do it twice, I could probably do it a third time. And at some point, you find yourself, on camera with NBC and talking with Ellen on her podcast.
That is, oh my goodness. Well, this is not about me, but I resonate with so much of what you just said, from starting from the bottom, from believing in myself like crazily, to just knowing that if I if I'm consistent in my work ethic and work hard enough, and that whatever you called it, productive paranoia, like I've
Yeah.
heard that before, but that resonates with me too. Like I run anxious, but in a not in a like bad mental health way, not like anxiety and depression, that kind of sense, but like productivity, like this fear of mediocrity and fear of not living my life, my one chance to my full potential. And so I have this like drive to work that is in part driven, fueled by a little fear and anxiety, but it's like healthy, you know? Anyway, but more about you. If I could just like shift back. So 2019 is when you made this huge, risky pivot, this huge like chance, and stepped out of this big job and this big 401k and all the bells and whistles to bet on yourself. Were you and Jess married at that time?
We were married, and she was supporting me as far as like I can tell you're not happy. I
Yeah.
can tell this isn't the direction you want to go. So we were married, but we still had a mortgage to pay, right? So I took a studio manager job at a studio in Buckhead, Georgia, and just kind of relied on like, okay, like the plays I know, I'm just going to do it in a smaller segment. I still wanted to present, so I'm still working through this, but I'm not nearly earning the same amount of income that I was as a regional manager. It got so bad, and you have to get to these points. It got so bad to the point, and this was another pivot point where I was like, I gotta take big, deep action. And I remember clearly, and I'm gonna gag when I say these words, is I was talking to one of my colleagues at the time, and she was making the schedule, and I had just shifted out of manager, and I was going to do some front desk work and get back on the mic and coaching group classes. But I remember telling her, hey, hey, I need the hours.
Mm,
And even saying it still
mm,
is, it makes me want to throw up. But when I uttered that and I sat in the car that evening, I did make a promise to myself is that I will never put myself in a position to have to tell somebody those words, I need the hours. And here we are.
mm. It's really beautiful. It's really powerful.
Man, I hate saying that. It's a great story, it really is, but damn, like
Necessary,
I
like
want to
that
vomit every time.
necessary to get to that, like almost like an addict needs to hit rock bottom to like almost like that moment having to gag over those words was part of the pivot. So,
Yeah.
important
Mm.
layer.
And from there, I got luck. Was it success is when luck meets opportunity?
Yes.
So I was looking at different opportunities, and I saw a casting call for Daily Burn, and I didn't have the money to travel up in New York City because they thought I was in New York City. I was in Atlanta, and this was on a Tuesday. I get an email saying, "Hey, we'd love for you to come audition." And I mean, you know how flights work. You're trying to book a flight 4 days before departure. It's expensive. And I called Jessica. I told her about the opportunity. She said, we'll make it work. I got to, Soho in New York City on a Friday evening. They were ready to go out and, close up for the day. And I just had to just really tap into presentation, energy, articulation, cueing. How can I make them really feel that I'm a bigger presence than what I am physically? And as soon as I uttered the words, hey, we're back and better than ever. My name is Dane Robinson, and this is your 3 minute, three core exercise. And I saw that one head pop out of the office and kind of squint and then said, that's good. Do it again. Okay. Can you do it like this? And that was, again, all these little micro moments that lead me to being here with you.
Yeah.
It's applying, it's betting on yourself when you maybe don't have the chips in order to do so.
Yeah.
But when your opportunity is there, man, you better swing for the fences because you never know. It might end up on Confessions of a Group Fitness Instructor right here.
Oh my gosh, this is already so good. You've already dropped so many amazing bombs, and we haven't even gotten into like the topic today, but it's so inspiring and it's so true. There is opportunity. And when we believe in ourselves, work hard, take some risks. And like you said, it's luck, like a little bit of luck, but it's really, we were ready. We were ready for those opportunities because of our hard work and preparation. So the Daily Burn thing, you just knew when they whipped their head around and like, they're like, I got it. It's done.
I knew there was something there,
Yeah.
right? Because I come in rolling in with my bags. They're like, "Oh, are you heading to LaGuardia?" I'm like, "I just came from LaGuardia." And then, they're like, "Okay, stand over here." And I don't feel like I'm embellishing because it's like 4 p.m. on a Friday. They were ready to go. Like
How
they're ready to go to happy hour, get the day done. And I know I only had a small amount of time to really get their attention for the producers at that time. And I would say probably about an hour after I left the studio, I got a phone call. I screamed like a 16-year-old girl, and I got myself together and said, "This is Dane." And they said, "Hey, this was for an app that we're developing, but we have a recurring show that we think you'd be perfect for. Can you stick around?" I'm like, "I would love to talk about this, but actually I got to go home in less than 24 hours." And I was a feature on their flagship show called Daily Burn 365. Did that for several years, and that just manifested a lot more of honing my craft
Yeah.
on camera, talking to camera one and camera two, all
Yep.
that kind of stuff, and bringing that Hollywood approach to what I was doing in person, and understanding that there's actually a formula method to it.
Right. So like without that, you wouldn't be doing this NBC thing today, right? Like,
I don't believe so, but for your listeners and your viewers is that you don't necessarily have to be coaching in the biggest studio or be with a platform like Daily Burn. It's nice and I'm supposed it helps, but ultimately like how we're doing right now, it's like if you want to get better at presenting and coaching on camera, then present and coach on camera.
Mhm.
Like, even if Dane, that's not, my thing, there are so many elements to looking at, like, in my case, a green dot right here on my
Exactly.
phone.
Same. Yes. Yes.
And bringing it into real life, if you're like, I would never coach on camera a day in my life. What you do in person is actually probably harder than coaching in a
Yes.
camera.
No, that's right. No, it's true. And like I also aspire, like we both do public speaking and we present on stages at conferences and stuff. So it is different than teaching in your quote unquote like normal class at a gym. But I practice and hone those skills in my class at my gym. Like the whole like presenter energy, the whole like all of that I practice. And like this, yes, like we're looking at the little green dot on our computers right now, so that if you watch the replay on YouTube, it looks like we're looking at you. Like
Yes.
that is a skill, that is a thing. Whereas like the normal tendency is to look at yourself while you're talking, or to look
Mhm.
at the person, or for me to like look at Dane. And it changes the connectedness to the camera. So yeah, it's fun. So did you always know before you applied for the Daily Burn opportunity? Did you always, I mean, did you know you were like inclined and to do public speaking and to be in front of a camera, or was that your first really like first time doing it?
My background also in athletics, collegiate and professional. I'm a graduate of the University of Buffalo. I was a scholarship football athlete there. I played a little professional in the Arena Football League, but I think at that point in time back then, Facebook would just became a thing, and they give you a lot of media training as a freshman and as a sophomore. And as my play kind of matched, I would say, my articulation style, I got more media opportunities to, talk about the opponent or talk about what happened after the game. And that I knew prepped me for being able to, like, to handle things like when there's a microphone in front of your face, when there is a camera looking directly at you. So there was always a foundation there. I just didn't quite know how to apply it from a fitness standpoint, but you have to fail forward. Like, you just have to be like, done is better than perfect. I'm just going to go out onto the field, if I'm putting it in football sense, go out into the field and like just swing. Just swing for a second. Like, I'm just gonna like put my hand in the dirt and let's go for it. But you have to bank on the things that are your intangibles. Ellen has such a unique way to connect with fitness instructors, with people that seek her guidance in their health and wellness journey. It's just innate in you. And just like any of your viewers or listeners, there's something innate in them, in you, that you just know, like, you don't have to turn anything on. It's just who you are. And that's what you have to kind of double down on when you're in those like pressure cooker situations.
So good. Okay, well, I just could keep asking you so many questions about all of that already, but let's go ahead and dive in. So when I asked you maybe what was on your heart and what you felt like sharing with my audience, this is what you wanted to share. This playbook to make classes binge worthy. So just take us there. What does that mean and how do we do it?
Yeah. Well, we start with the term binge worthy. Like, we know there's some show out there on Netflix, Hulu, Peacock, your streaming platform of choice, that you have binge watched. Like, Ellen, do you want to watch a 10-hour movie? Absolutely not. Do you want to watch 10 1-hour episodes back to back to back to back to back? Absolutely. Sign me up.
It's true.
But it's kind of like, why does that happen? And then we think about in our realm of group fitness. And I'll say it with a lot of love, but a lot of conviction is that for if you're listening to this and you do not see what you do as a group fitness instructor in your class as a form of entertainment and theater, then I'm not trying to dismiss a listener, but you might need to reevaluate, what exactly is happening in that room and on that mic. What we do on the mic in a group fitness session is a form of theater. It's production, or else you would just have an empty box with some weights, no music, no lighting, no mirrors, come in, work out, go home. And we know that's not what we do. But when I was looking at when it's easy enough to understand why you don't succeed at something. So two ends of the spectrum. When I would look at it and I would teach classes when I was trying to figure out my way of like two people. And then also like looking at classes where like I'm teaching at some point 28 people at one time. What's the difference? Why am I successful here? And how can I build myself up in other realms? And as I got more coaching opportunities on camera, I wanted to dive deeper into the psychology of it, always get better.
Yeah.
Why is something binge worthy? what is the psychology in the playbook? So I started reading and researching that Hollywood just kind of follows the same framework of how you tell stories on TV, how you tell stories in movies. And that's what creates something that's binge worthy, something that's on the air for 20 plus years or so. That's a Hollywood blockbuster. And I started to apply it into my group fitness sessions. And I was like, holy shit, like, I'll be damned. There is actually something to what Hollywood does and what we do in the group fitness room.
Wow. I can't wait to hear because I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know the science behind the way Hollywood structures, the characters and the suspense and all of that. So I wonder what it is and if I'm doing it like intrinsically, just naturally, subconsciously, if I'm doing that in my classes or if I need to like glom onto something and step it up. So Dane, come on,
Well,
make me better. Let's go.
okay, let's run the bases on this. So, but I'll start you off with a quick pop quiz. Let's play a little game called Guess That Show. Are you ready?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna be terrible. Yes.
No, 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 no. You'll do fine.
Can I
Okay.
can I Google it?
No, absolutely not. Integrity. That's photo of the dog, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay. Guess that show. A hospital in Seattle, Washington, where cataclysmic bad things happen all the time and the doctors are in love with each other all the time.
Oh, Grey's Anatomy.
Ding, ding, ding. Correct. Let's do another one.
Okay.
Guess that show. A wacky family in the New England area that with an evil toddler and a talking dog get into crazy shenanigans within the town of Quahog.
I don't know.
I'll give you it's on Fox, animated series.
I don't know.
Okay, so for all your listeners in there, like it's like this,
They're
like
all
a game
screaming
show.
right now. They're all like, Ellen, come on. What is it?
Family Guy.
Oh, well, I've not ever seen it. So
Okay, no shade there. Last one.
okay.
Guess the show. A instructor sits on a bike and broadcasts their workout to millions of other people on a bike based in New York City.
Peloton.
Peloton. There you go. All right, 2 for 3. That's better than some batting averages in Major League Baseball.
Thank you.
But the first base in this, Ellen, is that let's go back to Grey's Anatomy. Has that plot changed and what's now going on 20 plus seasons? Like hospital in Seattle, Washington, bad shit happens all the time. The doctors are always in love with each other.
You're right.
It doesn't change. Maybe there's character development.
Right.
Maybe there's insertion of new characters, but the plot is all the same. Let's take it to like Peloton, which is a show. It's a show. There's cameras, there's a script. We don't, in that realm, we don't create workouts, we create episodes. So even there, it's a bike, it's music, it's gonna be sprints or intervals or whatever, and then you unclip and you go about your day. The show doesn't change. So in that first base of what this Hollywood playbook is understanding that there doesn't have to be really evolution. There just has to be consistency. There has to be consistency with the plot. I was doing this presentation for an organization where their studio is dressed out in orange, if you can catch my drift. And I was doing it at their national conference, and I was positively refuted on this. And they're like, no, like it changes all the time. Last time I checked, there's treadmills, right?
Yep.
There's rowers. There's some sort of strength training that goes on every session. Well, we don't have rowers all the time. Treadmills, rowers, some sort of strength work happening in the room. The show is all the same, but the episodes vary. So that's first base. So far, so good? So
far, so good. First base.
All right. Second base on this is that if we know that the plot doesn't need to change in this show of our group fitness session, the second base of this is not getting out of our comfort zone, but like actually getting in our comfort zone.
Ooh.
And it turns into this is that, Ellen, you probably understand your personality really well. A lot of your viewers and listeners understand their personality. The difference of what I learned at Daily Burn and NBC is that you need to understand your persona. A personality and a persona are two different things.
Oh,
Typically, there are four personas. There can be a hundred, but typically there's four personas I always run into. There's the energizer, like you just come into a room and just full of energy. Doesn't mean like you're loud and obnoxious, but like you know how to like really read the room of energy and like come in a couple octaves above that and elevate the energy in there.
okay.
You have the best friend. The best friend is like so damn relatable. It's like somebody you follow on Instagram and you've never met them, but you kind of know, you feel like you know them.
Yes.
You have the drill sergeant, not like a boot camp instructor, but like very no fluff. Like, here's what we're here to do. Here's how we're going to get it done. There's nothing wrong with that. People enjoy just tell me what to do. I don't need all the theatrics. It doesn't mean that the drill sergeant doesn't understand, like, this is entertainment, so to speak. But like that drill sergeant is just like, here's what we're going to do. We have this much amount of time to get this much done. So let's get to it. The last persona is going to be the technical buff. They truly believe in the buy-in of like better exercise, better movement, better results, better experience. Better exercise, better results, better movement, better experience. That's their framework because people like doing things right. So they are just the ultimate coaching and cure. For you and your listeners, one of those, and it's there's always going to be one person like, Dan, I'm all of those. And I say it with love and respect. No, you're not. No, you're not. But there's one that's your primary. Dane's primary is energizer.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm loud cheerleader. It just means that I can read a room and come in a couple octaves above that with my energy.
Mhm.
But my secondary is drill sergeant. That's my football background. Dane is about a good time, but I'm not here to waste time. Let's do this and let's enjoy that we get to work out, but you're gonna either maximize this time or you're gonna waste this time. Which one are you gonna choose? So it's that fun but like grounded approach.
Okay, you know what I think I am? Or do you want to guess? Because I know.
Oh man, I think I want to say your primary might be like best friend because you're
Yes,
very bubbly.
I think it's best friend, and I think people like absolutely think they know me from social and the way I come across, and I can bring big energy, but it's different. Like the way you show up in a room, like that is your primary for sure. I would say that for you too, but I think I am approachable. If people can see past the scary like tattoo look, I think I'm super approachable. And then I think my secondary is actually technical. So I think you and I are like literally yin and yang.
Yeah, and that's how you start to. It's like a volume knob. Is
Yeah.
that you can really slide into your primary naturally, but because you're the best friend, you get people's emotional buy-in, so that when you need to correct them on something, as far as like let's just say, fixing their squat, adjusting how they're operating on a bike, they're going to be not more apt. They're going to listen to you because they don't want to let their friend down.
Yeah.
They
Good
trust
best friend.
you. Yeah, they trust you outside of the fact of your profession, but I feel like I know you. You are connected to me. Hold on, what do I need to fix? Got it. Absolutely, Ellen. Like that's it. And then, they repeat that process, but your primary enables your secondary and your secondary supports your primary.
So cool. Okay, so that's the base two is the persona.
Yes. So just as a recap, so far we have understanding that you don't have to like be innovative. You just have to be consistent. Like be consistent in the plot of your workout. If your workout is on a spin bike, great. Guess what? That plot ain't going to change. If your workout is a combination of dumbbells and treadmills or whatever, great. That plot ain't going to change. The second part is tapping in and understanding what's your primary energizer, technical buff, drill sergeant, best friend. What's your secondary? And we treat that like a little slider as we go through the session. Third base is this is like the big crux of it. So if you're listening to this and you're taking notes or whatever, but this is where I want you to really tune in because this is the what I call the Hollywood playbook. This is how they run every episode that's on the air. This is what makes things binge worthy. Are you ready? The steps. There's the opening situation. Like the first 10% of your class or your script is kind of like, what's the opening situation? Like, what are we here to do? Like, if you think about it in, I would say what I do in, any like group fitness class, it's just a introduction of like, hey, here's who I am. Even though you've seen me thousands of times, here's who I am. Here's what we're gonna do. Here's what I need you to think about. I'm trying to get their buy-in right away. So it's this opening situation. The just like when you turn on you watch your favorite episode or whatever, there has to be like the introduction to like what's happening in this episode.
Yes,
Like,
got it.
or the viewer doesn't know where to go. Even though I've watched the show plenty of times, I need to know understand what's happening in this episode or
Like
what's the issue.
skip intro when you really know the show, and I'm like, no, I want to see the intro again.
Yes, agreed. Like, but that's where you get the buy-in. The second piece is the new opportunity, the new situation. This is where like
Sorry, can I go back to your opening thing? I think also this is an area where we instructors, when we get comfortable and confident that we're good, and we get to have a group of people that are fairly consistent and regular, I think this is an area where we can accidentally become lackadaisical and slip in and just showing up with that big opening intro recap here, managing expectations. Here's what we're here for. Here's what the show's all about.
1,000%.
Like
It
let that atrophy.
Yeah, that's a great word for it. You let that atrophy. In any fitness production that I'm there, I usually have a minute to like maybe 45 seconds for my consistent opening, which is usually if on camera, it's hey, we're back and better than ever. Here's who I am. I might give a little like teaser of like, here's what today's workout is. It's squats and core. What does that really mean? Or what am I going to ask of you today? I get a little closing as far as I'm just getting them to emotionally say this was a good idea. I'm getting them to subconsciously nod their head with me. And this is talking about whether I'm in camera or in real life, in person, in group. I just need them to like affirm that they're in the right situation with me, and this is how this episode is going to go.
Ah, yes. I mean, it seems so basic, but it's very powerful. It's incredibly powerful.
If you're listening to this podcast and you've been with Ellen for a little bit, you're not trying to go from bad to good. You're
That's
trying to go
right.
from good to great. Like that's it. And that threshold is very small to cross.
Right. That's this, and it's little things like this. Okay, I love that. So the opening, and then you were starting to go into the next.
The new opportunity or the new situation. We've established our opening. The viewer understands like this is what's happening in this episode. Now, like that viewer, like we have to like think about like, okay, how are they as the hero and heroine gonna really now work themselves into what this situation we presented in the beginning of class is. It's no different than when you watch, let's go back to Grey's Anatomy,
Okay.
and there's an earthquake in the center of like Seattle, Washington. There's your opening, like, ooh, this is bad. The new the new situation is now the characters and the viewer now trying to formulate, okay, how are they going to get over this like cataclysmic thing and get people to the hospital or get the person out from underneath the car. This is just part of the new situation, which is typically 7-8 minutes into your workout where like they go from listening to really hearing you.
What's an example of what's an example of this, like in the teaching realm?
In the teaching realm, I equate it to time, is that usually in the beginning of your opening, no matter what your persona, just tell them what they need to know. This is hard for like the best friend and the energizer because you want to like give them a whole bunch of motivation. Like, tell me your why. Like, think about your why. Your people at that point, no matter how long they've been with you, I don't know my why. Just tell me what to do. They don't need to hear a bunch. They just need to hear what's happening and here's how I need to do it. So as we get through the warm up, 7 to 8 minutes biochemically, that's where the mind and the body start to have the conversation of like, hey, body, we're doing fitness. Hey, mind, you might want to pay attention to what Ellen's saying. So Ellen kind of goes from kind of sounding like this to very clear. You go from mono or from like stereo to HD. So that's really what happens in
Okay.
that new situation, which is usually now like after the warm up, let's get into it.
Okay. It's getting real.
Yes, exactly. Next piece of this is going to be what I call like the point of no return. You know, at some point, it's the midpoint of your story. It's the midpoint of class. This is where all agreements have really been made. And like, if I say this is a legs and core class, it's fully understood. This is a legs and core class. When I talk about like how this is going to now carry through the rest of this workout, they have to now start to make sense in their mind that it makes no sense not to finish what I started. Think about the TV show that you watch. If it's an hour show and you're past 30 minutes, at some point, unless there's like an emergency or whatever, and you have to like really depart from like watching whatever you're watching, you've already made the commitment that you got to see this thing through. You got to see how this thing ends because you're too far into the show. You're too far into the movie. So it makes no logical sense not to see how this thing ends.
You're hooked. It's like the hook. Like,
It is. And we do it in a myriad of ways of like saying, acknowledging like you've crossed that point of no return. This
right.
is what we're doing. They've made so many micro agreements with you, but that's where you want to acknowledge. We like hearing like in any destination, like, we've begun our descent or like we're halfway there, whatever.
Yeah. That's okay. That's excellent. Hmm.
Last two parts. So we've talked about the opening situation, the new situation, the point of no return, the last two parts. And I get this from, some coaches I've had, Barry and Shay Cotsby, who run Fitness Career Mastery and the GroupX Conservatory. I highly encourage you guys to check them out. Is they really talk about flow state and
Yeah.
collective effervescence. And I'm sure you're no stranger to this, but at some point, it's almost this out of body kind of experience for you as the coach. Cause like think about like a basketball spinning on your finger. If you do it and you spin, at some point the basketball just spins and it doesn't need any more momentum from you. That happens in a group fitness session. And it's hard, especially either on camera or like in a session because we're talkers. We have to coach, we have to cue, we have to educate, we have to motivate. But there has to come a point in time where just don't talk.
Mhm.
Just let it be. Like they're good. Like they're just and it does and that's it's hard to master. And it's hard to really create, but there's that flow state. And we know flow state, like when you're really like banging through your errands or you're in a workout and like you feel unstoppable and like you don't even hear the music in your ear anymore. Like you're just going. We all experience flow state, but it's up to us at this stage of the story to like just let it be. Just let that basketball spin and like feel good that everything around you is good and you don't necessarily have to be on the mic.
Mhm. It's like the one of the most powerful things we can do is just close our mouths and stop cueing and stop talking. And it takes an insane amount of being comfortable in your skin, being confident and reading the room and trusting them, trusting that they know what they're doing. They've got it, whether it's choreography or a interval on a bike. Like it's drama. It's like drama and emotion, and we get in the way of it. We like get in the way of it as instructors. And uh I love this part of like this part of teaching. It's something that I've been working on, that and also just like voice modulation, just making my voice and how often I use it, what octave it's at, how much it's fluctuating, how it's resonating or not with the song that's playing, all that stuff. But to just be quiet is one of the most powerful things we can do to evoke emotion and drama in our classes.
You use the word drama, like even if you think about it, you don't notice it because you're watching it. But when a movie and a show really has you hooked, there is no background music. You just hear either the lines that are being said by the actors or like they're just going through whatever they're going through and there's no background music. It's just sound. Like you're so immersed in it. And I will say two things in my final point on like flow state or collective effervescence, as it's really known as, is that it doesn't mean you have to be a statue. We know verbal cueing is like one thing. I can with on the mic, but still give like non-verbal,
Right.
coaching and cueing and maybe be more tactical or maybe be more visual if I'm trying to get them to like roll their shoulders back or to like, squeeze their shoulder blades. And I can just visually make eye contact with them and not utter a word. And the last thing I'll say to that is that remember, and I take this straight from QVC and especially for my time at Daily Burn, is that there's times where I don't speak on the mic and it feels like I need to in camera, but people can hear you smile.
Ooh,
Your viewer, your audience, your members in class, they can hear you smile.
that's good.
The last part is actually pretty easy, Ellen. It's the climax, it's the ending, it's the go home part of it. I've never really seen an instructor that's gone through like kind of like these stages and phases really muck this up. Even in a yoga session, it's like, well, there's not this big bang because you're usually ending in Shavasana. Like, I feel like that's actually harder than anything else because you have to get people to like really just be still and not fidget and everything. But there's a clear ending. If you see, and you talked about voice modulation, I've talked about a lot as we kind of like are stuck at third base on this. But like, I really hope that your viewers and listeners understand and hear me clear when I say that you are the narrator, they are the hero and heroine.
Ooh,
You narrate, they are the hero and heroine of this fitness story that you're telling. That's all. So when it gets to the end, at any ending of a show, just like in your group fitness session, there has to be an ending. Everything must be all conflict resolution needs to be resolved. This is where we started. This is how we ended.
right.
That's the ending point of it. Because you as a viewer on a TV show, unless it's like a cliffhanger and it carries on to the next episode, whatever, but like you want closure. You want to see how it turns out for the hero or the heroine. You want to see how the situation ends. That's what we do at the end of our group fitness session. And it's the easiest part. You're happy it's almost done. They're happy it's almost done. Everyone is like not hooting and hollering, but everyone has this collective like, I did it. I taught another class. I did it. I worked out in another class.
We can check the box. It's complete. We scratched the itch. It's done.
That's it. And that's it, really. That's the Hollywood playbook, Ellen. But here's the best part about it is I don't when I coach a group fitness session, when I'm on camera, I'm just running that same playbook over and over and over and over and over again. I don't change the opening situation, the new situation, the point of no return, flow state, climax. Let's do it again. Does it get boring and stale? Absolutely not. Think about your favorite show. It runs the same playbook. They're not saying the episodes don't change. We might do core work one day and squat work the other, and I'm just tossing out examples. I'm not saying episodes don't change, but the plot of your story does not change, and it makes it so much emotionally easier to not have to outperform yourself every class. It makes the people that come to your class addicted to this show. It makes the people, the small numbers that you may experience in class, all of a sudden start. You ever, and I'm sure you've experienced this when people say, "Hey, have you seen this show? Oh my God, you got to watch it."
Yes.
And you'll put it on and you'll be like, "Oh, this is a good show." It's the same thing in group fitness. You get a couple people addicted to your show that are binging it. And now they're saying, "Hey, Ellen, like you really got to check out this show. It's awesome."
Oh,
And that's how you grow your class numbers. That's also how you sustain your class numbers and sustain your energy and your freaking mentality. Just running that play over and over and over again. Because Hollywood does it. And I guess, and you can too.
there's freedom in it. There's like freedom in knowing it's like it's turnkey, it's rinse, wash, repeat. It's not boring.
No.
And as an aside, like I love the whole they're the star, like they're the hero and heroine of the story. And I think we can get that twisted too sometimes, with our like little egos that pop up. I know I've been there. Like, whoa, 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 I'm not the star of the show here.
Right. Like and what we do is very positively egotistical, and it is what it is. But if we can really root ourselves that we're just like maybe not a Morgan Freeman kind of voice, but like your cues, your energy, the things that you're saying on the bike, or when I've seen you on stage, Ellen, you were just narrating what the dialogue in their own head of the toughness that's needed, how this doesn't feel right. What should I change? Are we almost done? Oh, we are almost done. Yeah, that did feel good. Yeah, that was challenging. They are just the heroes and heroines, and we can still feel that ego centricity that comes with the job by taking real big ownership that we're the narrators.
Yeah, that's right. I love it. This is so good. Thank you so much for sharing these tips with us and recapping them all. Do you have any like calls to action? Like if someone's listening and this is just like golden information, like what could be for some first steps? Like for me, I thought of like maybe identifying their persona, their primary and secondary. That would be a good call to action for them. And then just putting into practice these bases, the script, and maybe figuring out where they are weak and where they are strong, like in that whole, like, is being quiet like the hard part, like is have you become too lackadaisical about the opening? So like maybe identifying and diagnosing where you need to focus your attention, something like that.
Yeah, I'll be honest, to really have a hold on this is that it doesn't, if you apply anything that you've heard me talk about, it doesn't happen overnight, and we should understand that. But in theory, not in theory, but in practicality, whether it be myself or other fitness professionals that I've coached through this, it's around, and I'm going to be honest, it's around like the 6 to 7 week mark where, like, if you've been applying this and you understand your primary and secondary persona, you understand the plot of your show, the plot of your fitness session, and are saying like what doesn't change, and you kind of run through this script and just kind of fail forward, know the things that feel good, the things that feel icky. They're the as I heard one of a Peloton instructor talk about, like the shit shift. At some point, it stops feeling shitty, and that there's a shift where it's just like, well, I'll be damned. Like, I didn't change a damn thing about how I went through, you know, opening situation, new situation, so on and so forth. And they're like, best class ever. And then I did it again. And then I did it again. And actually, I got so good is that I can actually put flow state after my opening situation and actually get them into a flow state right away and really create the positive drama. Now you start playing around a little bit with this script, but it typically takes 6 to 7 weeks to feel like you really got a hold of this. But like you said, Ellen, you start off with, what's the consistent plot of my group fitness session? What's my primary and secondary persona? And just start with like the first three parts of this Hollywood playbook. Your opening situation, the new situation, about 7 to 8 minutes. Like now, like there has to be some sort of plan for the hero and heroine. And then like the point of no return. Has everyone made this collective agreement, like this is what this is, and it makes no literal sense not to finish this story at some point.
So good. Oh my goodness. And I love that, like, ultimately we get to be ourselves in doing all that.
Yeah.
Like your persona is you. Like it's, Dane and I are very different. I mean, we have a lot in common, but we are very different in our personalities and our approaches and our styles, and equally effective. And just I'm just being me and he's just being him, following.
You don't have, I'm not trying to change who anybody is. I'm just saying get in your comfort zone. Your persona is just an extension of you. You're just turning up that volume to about 10 or 11, and you because we know we're on stage, we're on a mic, like that's who we are. It's just identifying that and just doubling down on that. But if people, again, if any of your listeners really want to sink their teeth into more, they can go to coachdanerobinson.com/fitpro. And I have it all recorded. I recorded it professionally over at the ACSM Idea Health and Fitness Summit in Chicago a couple years back, where this is a 2.5 hour workshop, but
Oh,
like we go deep. I give massive examples from me on camera to like some people over in the world of Peloton, all the way to me in my home gym back that way. And so anybody can see themselves in this playbook
Okay.
of Hollywood.
My gosh, yeah, we'll put the link in the show notes too. I want to do that. That's incredible. Thank you. So speaking of you and being on a mic and all these things, where are you going to be? Like, do we know where you're going to be? Where can people find you in, or do you know where you're going in 2025?
Man, kind of sort of not really. That productive paranoia.
Are you going to be exactly? Are you going to be in Nashville in December? Yes,
Yes, I
join
will be. I don't know. We're not. Are we calling it music? Is Fit Pro Fusion, right?
Fit Pro Fusion.
Fit Pro Fusion in
Health
Nashville.
and fitness. Yeah, December. It's like the first weekend in December. And yeah, we're gonna be there. Yeah. And so I was gonna say when we were talking about the Warriors and you and how we always see each other and you're kind of like part of our family, you're like, yeah, you're like Uncle Dane. You're like part of the family.
It's all family. So I know I'll be in Nashville in December. Hopefully I'll be in Denver at the I guess second annual ACSM Idea Health and Fitness Summit. But I'm always just finding different opportunities. Again, you can catch me on NBC towards the end of January, going into February. You can go to dailyburn.com, and obviously I have programs and workouts there. And you can actually, even if you're just watching and putting my words with like, oh, there's the opening situation, there's a
Oh,
new situation.
oh yeah.
You can see how I actually put it together.
Okay.
Or just watch your favorite show and say like, oh shit, there it is. Oh, there that is. But ultimately, Ellen, they can just follow me on Instagram at Coach Dane Robinson.
Follow him on Instagram for sure, for sure, for sure. And we'll put all those links in the show notes. And also, I wanted to say that I like to look at performers like Beyonce or whoever and think about like things that they're doing or saying that I can apply to me as a presenter or instructor, but I've actually not done it ever, like watching a show. So I'm excited for the homework that I'm giving myself from this episode. And as always, thank you. Thank you for helping me level up and for being my friend.
Ellen, it's easy because you're everyone's best friend, clearly, because that's your
Yeah,
primary persona.
we're best friends, you know.
But you make it easy. I can't stress enough the impact you have on so many people that you know and some people that you will never meet. But that's the growth of what happens in our industry is looking outside of what we do in our little zip code and how we really are moving our industry forward. So congrats to you. And this was such a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we'll see you on Instagram. We'll stalk you on Instagram. And thank you so much for these incredible tips and tricks to help us level up.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. I owe you a confession, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Uh, I had to think about it for a while because I was checking out your email and I was like, wait a second,
Yep.
what's my confession?
I almost forgot that.
Um,
Oh, that's the tie-in to the title of the show. What you got?
and I've heard some very interesting confessions. So mine may not be that juicy or interesting, but my confession really is that, and I say it unapologetically, I steal people's shit all the time, all
Oh,
the time. There's a book called Steal Like an Artist, and it just talks about the idea that no idea is original, even dating back to like Michelangelo and Da Vinci and their artwork. There's inspiration. We hear it in music all the time, especially I'm an elder millennial. So when I hear new music where I'm just like, that's just a sample of what I listened to in 1992, not knowing that was a sample of a song made in the 70s, not knowing that song was a sample made back in the 50s. As a fitness professional, whether I'm programming, whether I'm cueing, all everything, I steal people's things all the time and maybe convert them into my own avenue, just like a artist in music that might take a sample and make it their own. It sounds familiar. So I guess my confession is that I steal everybody's stuff all the time, and I'm really proficient in stealing like an artist, which again is a great book everyone should read.
is excellent. And I never would have thought you would say that and and glorify that.
Yeah, like again, like you know it, you've heard a song, and you're like, this is just a remake of a song that I've listened to, but then like your mind is blown when you're like, that song was actually a remake of another song.
True. I do it too. Like I will find a move and be inspired by it, but then I will figure out a way to put my own spin on it so that it feels original. Yeah, all the time. And verbiage, like, language and cueing and all that. So,
Steal like an artist.
so can we're gonna steal all, we're stealing your playbook. We're stealing it all.
Please, like, gee, like again, like that, I don't know what the legalities are to it, but none of this is copyrighted, man. Like, this is not like, I mean, I guess it's IP, but case in point, Dane just stole this from Hollywood and applied it to the group
That's
fitness
right.
world.
Exactly. Perfect. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Dane, thank you again for your time. Mwah.
Pleasure.